weekend. And the other thing we've got behind the cold front that came through the other day and brought us cooler temps.
Ramos Law serves people. We make the world a better place. We put people ahead of anything else. It's my name on this business. It's my face on the billboards. And what you don't see through any of that stuff is you don't see my heart. We've built this family, this Ramos Law family, in a way that will include you. And hopefully by the end of our representation, you also feel part of the Ramos Law family. I look forward to taking care of you.
Good morning, crew. It is Friday. It is August 14th. I am Matt Meister. This is Peaks to Plains weather. I hope you are doing well. Susan checks in this morning. She's looking forward to the Bronco game. Do they play tonight or tomorrow? I don't even know. But it is certainly a stretch here where, you know, we've got that kind of transition happening, right? Kids are back in school, football's coming, all that good stuff. And crew, we've got the monsoon. Thanks for starting your day with us here at Peaks to Plains Weather. I am Matt Meister. I want to start off with yesterday and how it was sort of feast or famine. Peaks to Plains storm chaser Matt Manillo and his storm chasing truck Blue Thunder were out in Palmer Lake. This was between 2 and 3 o'clock yesterday in the afternoon, and it was coming down really, really good. Even after the storm was gone and the sun came out, you can see the impacts there from the storm. And so if you got under one of these yesterday, there was quite a bit of impact. No doubt about that. In fact, up on I-70, there was a semi-accident. A couple of semis ran into each other in the median there. Westbound travel was closed for a while. So certainly some impacts out there, as I said. And, with thunderstorms, even when they're bringing down heavy rain, not everybody is going to get them. Missed out in Pueblo yesterday. Parts of Colorado Springs ended up getting some, especially as we moved into the evening. But if you got under one, you got some pretty dang good rain. The east side of the Aspen Acres fire had about an inch of rain. Obviously, the east side of the fire, the terrain's not as steep as the west side, kind of really getting into the wet mountains there. And that minimized the impacts. There were some minor debris flows, but thankfully nothing major from what I was able to determine yesterday. But you see, the bright green areas are where there was more than an inch of rain, and quite a few spots east of Highway 71 and then up over the Palmer Divide got more than an inch of rain yesterday. That was the case on Highway 50. And so I just grabbed some kind of random spots here to show you what the radar is estimating. But for some ground truth, in La Junta, we had 1.16 inches in a short period of time, and that's right where the radar was on the estimation. So when you can line those up, it gives you confidence in what the radar is doing. And so one of the spots that had more than 2 inches of rain in some cases, between Highway 287, Highway 94, and Highway 71, this is in central Lincoln County here, kind of off to the south of Hugo, even around Hugo, though. We had more than 2 inches of rain in a few spots. And then Palmer Divide got hit well as well. So the southern Douglas County, southern Elbert County, northern El Paso County, places getting between 1 and 2 inches of rain, and in some spots more than that. Palmer Lake was one of those because we got another storm in the evening. That was a lot like that one I showed you in the afternoon. Parts of the south and east side of Colorado Springs caught a few storms in the evening up around the Air Force Academy, Mountain Shadows, the Rock Rimmon area. There was a storm later in the evening as well. You can see just to the north of Woodland Park, the rain was heavier than what we had in the city above the clouds yesterday. So, like I said, short distances can make a big difference when you're talking thunderstorms. One neighborhood can get them. One neighborhood can miss out. Storms today are going to have heavy rain. There is another flash flood watch up for the Aspen Acres fire, and that is probably something that we'll see on Saturday as well. And Michael is, Heitman is, he was famine at his place. I know he wants some. He runs Bar H auctions. I think it's Bar H. If I didn't get that part right, Mike, I'm sorry. But he wants some rain out there. David out in Eads went around his place as well. Only thing he dumped out of the rain gauge this morning was a bug. Bummer. Sorry about that. And looks like the game time today is 5 p.m. Didn't even know they had a game today. Well, that's preseason. I mean, does it really count? I mean, this is the first one, I think, right? So, there's not going to be, it's not going to be a lot. But if you're jonesing for some football, that'll certainly be on for you. And then Felzu says, hi from your cousin Dave Meister. I'm not familiar with a Dave, at least in my Meisters, but, maybe we're long lost, as they say. Well, good morning to you, my friends. I hope you are having a good start to your day. Let's check what's going on outside this morning. After we did that recap from yesterday, we should kind of set the stage here. Kissing Camels this morning, there's fewer clouds around than what we had yesterday. It is 57 degrees. So it's a little bit cool out there in spots as we get our morning underway. Sure feels good. It was wet in my backyard. I had a storm that ran me over last night about 10:45, I think it was. Dog was freaking out and all that stuff. Got some lightning and some thunder, and I got a half inch of rain in a short period of time, so that was good. 51 this morning in Cascade. We'll take you a little farther up the hill into Woodland Park, where it is 52. Over some of the big mountain valleys this morning, like Salida, sitting at 58 degrees, warmer than some of us east of the Rocky Mountains. I hope you all have a fantastic day. We'll take you up to the top of the mountains this morning at A Basin here, and you can see some clouds over the mountains. Part of our monsoon flow overhead. It is 47 there. And in Pueblo West this morning, let's say hello to you. Let me find your camera right here. We are sitting at 62 this morning, and maybe today is your day of rain. because you kind of missed out yesterday. Temperatures across the region running, let's see where we bottomed out here early this morning. 60 in the Springs officially. Might end up a little bit lower than that here in the next 20 minutes or so before we start warming up. Alamosa's been down to 50. La Junta and Lamar at 67 this morning. And that's about where we are right now compared to 24 hours ago. How's that change? Not too different. Most of us within a couple degrees, if anything, we are a little bit cooler. So what do we get for the rest of the day into the evening? What are your chances of thunderstorms? Well, let's jump into the short-term forecast here on this Friday morning at 6:40 now as we get our day underway. We still almost got to 100 in the southeast corner yesterday. But everybody felt the effects of the cool front that obviously north of the Arkansas River was more noticeable than areas north of there. We had 80s up and down the interstate, even some 70s over the Palmer Divide in northern El Paso County, Black Forest, the Tri-Lakes, up into parts of Elbert County, around Elizabeth into Douglas County. We were in the 70s as well. In Teller County yesterday, and a mixture of 70s and 80s in the mountains and valleys, of course, elevation dependent. But with the monsoon flow moving through the mountains, no 90s on the valley floors like we've had a lot of days in the last week and a half. And if anything here the next couple of days, the temperatures are going to come down a degree or two. We will be cooler in the southeastern corner of the state today, certainly not up into the upper 90s. I think we'll do lower 90s. And then maybe you lose another degree as we head into the start of the weekend. Storms last evening were in the process of shifting off to the east. And, always some lingering ones past midnight in the monsoon flow. That was the case out there early this morning. It is pretty quiet now. A few sprinkles have been winding down over the last hour in the southeastern corner of the state. There are a couple off to the south of Alamosa this morning, but it's plain as day where the monsoon plume is. And what's interesting is the low-level moisture behind the front, a really important player in everything. You saw the coverage of storms when I showed you that rain estimate. Was better east of the mountains than it was over the high country, and the rain was heavier east of the mountains than over the high country. Part of that, too, is that radar doesn't see up into the mountains as good. But like yesterday, that's where the storms will form. So we'll use the terrain to kind of be the trigger the next couple of days. The Raton Mesa fired up some storms yesterday. The Palmer Divide fired up some storms. We'll do that again. There was a moisture gradient along the front yesterday as it was kind of hanging out just south of the Arkansas River that also developed some storms. The front's farther south today, so I don't think that happens. But once the storms get going, the individual cells are again moving off to the northeast. And if they move overhead, kind of like that video I showed you from Palmer Lake, right? It comes down really fast. And so if I'm hoping that areas that missed out yesterday get them today. But if you had heavy rain yesterday and you get another storm today, your flash flood risk is higher because the ground's got some water in it already. Individual cells moving to the northeast. There's a gradual eastward shift of the cluster of everything as we get into the evening. Now, as we cluster storms up over the plains, there's an enhanced potential for some cold pool wind gusts. These are downdrafts. We had some of those yesterday on Highway 50 last night. We could get those again this afternoon and this evening, kind of in that transition time as storms are getting away from the mountains. They tend to organize and cluster up a little bit more. Hail threat in the monsoon typically isn't great. There's going to be little 10 to 20 minute windows for a couple cells where we might get some hail around an inch or so in diameter. We'll keep an eye on that. But as we move into the late evening and the storms start getting into Kansas, they're going to be wind makers in addition to putting down the heavy rain. And then again, it'll take past midnight to get some of these storms out of here. So given that we do have a risk of, some storms putting down some strong wind gusts today, I want to look at what we had yesterday for severe weather reports. And you can see we had a couple up across Elbert County that put some wind down. If we see what these reports were here, just off to the northwest of Simla, we had a 60-mile-an-hour wind gust, 64 in Lyman yesterday, a 62. Let's go out east across the plains in some other spots. And we didn't pick up that. I know we had a little microburst off to the northeast of La Junta, but we didn't get any reports of anything with that. And then east of Kit Carson here in first view yesterday, a 59 mile per hour gust. So you get the idea. There's no hail reports that came in yesterday. Doesn't mean there wasn't anybody. There was just nobody there or nobody to report it. So, that's kind of the case of what I expect today. Tomorrow, there's a little bit better risk of some hail, maybe around an inch in diameter. But storms, again, are going to put down heavy rain. As they transition eastward toward the evening, there will be a better chance of some of those wind gusts that'll be up around 60 miles per hour. But again, if you get hit by one, the chance of an inch or more of rain on the way. They fire up over the mountains again, they roll off to the east, and again, a couple linger until the late evening, or maybe a little bit more than that. Skycast picks up on outflow, moving back westward. We had outflow boundaries all over the place yesterday. Those developed some new storms. That's why we got the storms on the south side of the Springs last evening. And so, the pattern is just not very different here from day to day on a day-to-day basis. Christina says, yes, in Los Animas, there's video of the microburst. I saw that. There was a report initially that it was a tornado from what I saw in that video. It wasn't in any way. Christina, if you heard of any damage with that, let me know. I didn't hear of any. And Barb says, mornings with Meister are better. Thanks, Barb. Are we done with 100-degree plus days? Probably not. I can't say that. The likelihood of them here as we go by each week gets lower and lower. And Julie's saying good morning. Good morning, Julie. I will be back with our extended forecast right after this. You're watching Mornings with Meister. It's Friday morning. Hey-o! You're on Peaks to Plains Weather, our weather together. Love your yard with a new outdoor space from F&B Landscaping. From a new build to a new project in an existing yard, we listen and give you the yard you want within your budget. Lawns, water features, xeriscaping. We've got the artistic touch and technical know-how to bring the peak of Colorado outdoor living to your home. Reliable, trustworthy. Visit fblandscapes.com to schedule a free consultation today.
Hey Peaks to Plains viewers, this is John over here at Petrali Roofing. It's hail season here in Colorado, and you might think that your roof doesn't have hail damage, but think again. Hail damage is hard to spot from the ground. That's why Petrali Roofing does free 21-point inspections. Give us a call today. We'll come out and take a look. And if we do find hail damage and your roof qualifies for a re-roof, you'll get $250 off if you choose us to do that installation. So give us a call today, 719-375-8773. Have us come out and take a look today.
Emergencies are unpredictable, but you don't have to be unprepared. Peak Alerts sends you targeted emergency alerts in real time for the places that matter to you most, so you know what's happening and what to do next. Know first, act fast. That's the power of Peak Alerts.
Employee pricing is over, but at Phil Long Ford in Motor City, American value still means something. Colorado's best season, Phil Long's biggest discounts of the year, 0% financing, no payments for 90 days. And I'll throw $1,000 towards your down payment. Plus, get a complimentary 2-year premium maintenance plan.
That's the Phil Long way.
We'll beat any deal by $750, and we'll prove it only at the original Ford store in Motor City.
All right, so extended forecast here, the monsoon in place, and that'll be with us through the weekend here. And then as we get into next week, we'll start to see some changes as the high pressure that's off to the southeast and really in a good spot for us moves off, starts moving westward again and kind of changes things up a little bit. But low-level moisture over the plains is an additional factor here. And we'll keep dew points in the 50s and 60s right on into the start of the weekend as well. And we'll start to thin the moisture out a little bit over the high country. And so we might get a little bit quieter here, especially on the western slope as we move into Sunday in particular. That's part of a developing trend for early next week. But daily storms are going to still be with us here as we have this moisture over the plains and the moisture coming in from the west. And so, you move into the start of your weekend, and we'll have some storms that fire up here on Saturday and Sunday. We get into Monday and we start to shift things a little bit because the high is starting to work westward, and that's going to break up the tap a little bit. So there'll be a little bit of a change into early next week, and Tuesday's kind of looking a little bit dry. And then later on in the week, what we have to figure out, and we're getting some kind of conflicting information about this, but do we get a cold front? How much? Low-level moisture with that? Does the high start shifting back to the east a little bit, or does it stay here over the west? So I've got a little bit of work to do. There will be some storms around here, I think. Some days maybe more than others. I just, to be honest with you, don't have a lot of confidence in the extended forecast right now on the specifics, other than I think Tuesday is going to be kind of a drier day here. And again, through the weekend with this low-level moisture that we've got overhead, man, the storms are going to put down some heavy rain. So our extended forecast for the mountain areas here, we keep storms around, but notice Monday and Tuesday, I've pulled the coverage of storms back a little bit. There's just going to be maybe more hit and miss type stuff versus more widespread sort of things. But through the weekend, you get hit by a storm regardless of where you are. It's going to put down some good water. Colorado Springs, I think we get a little bit of a drier stretch, and then maybe if we get a front in here, again, depending where that high is, a chance of storms. We're going to have to work on this a little bit. That'll be the case for parts of the plains as well. With time, we may start to be flirting with those 100s again. Barb was asking about that. But enjoy the cooler weather over the weekend. We'll have some ups and downs next week. You see a difference in temps there between Tuesday and Wednesday. If that front gets here, we will certainly see a better chance of some storms. So we'll keep an eye on that. But, I'm hoping if you didn't get one yesterday, you get one today. So maybe the cities will be a little bit busier today than what we had yesterday. David says, well, I didn't get anything south of Springfield. Maybe you will today, my friend. Your neighbors to the north certainly did. Christina is saying, go Broncos, new season. She didn't answer me about that microburst question, so maybe there wasn't anything. Didn't see any reports of damage. I think we would have if we had any. And Carol says, thanks. So, all righty, crew. Here's the deal for later on today. I and my family for a really long time have had plans to go to, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name right now. My kids, who's playing at Mile High tonight? Oh my gosh, I'm going to remember it when I'm so dumb. He's a real popular right now. Anyways, my wife and kids and I are going to the show. Why can't I think of that? It's just driving me nuts. So I will be mobile at some point, but I've got Starlink fired up. I've got everything, so I'll be able to do live coverage on the road. And then I'm going to hang out in the parking lot for a little bit while the kids go in, taking care of flash flood warnings that we may have, any storm coverage that's needed until Rachel gets back from taking the kids to a hockey practice or hockey game, maybe it is. But then she'll take over at about 7 o'clock this evening. So even though we're living life, we're doing things with our families. I mean, my son and I, we drive back to college next week. He and I will be on the road. I'll have all the stuff. I'll still be streaming while he's driving and doing what we need to do. So Peaks to Plains weather, our weather together. Jeremy, thank you. Zach, Brian. I can't believe I put Brian first and I knew that wasn't right. But man, his songs are great. There's also the Savannah Bananas up in, they're probably tonight and tomorrow up in Denver as well. So we're hoping that, storms stay away from those events. There'll be wet ones if the storms hit there, and Clinton is loving the cooler weather. Donna says, have a great day. I say have a great day too, my friends. Thanks for checking in with Peaks to Plains weather, our weather together. Anytime you need the forecast information, we've got it on the Peaks to Plains weather 24-hour channel. Crew, you can watch it on Roku and Fire TV. Try that out if you haven't done it yet. Lots of folks are on YouTube on their TVs. We're on there as well. The 24-hour channel's on there. We put our, kind of recorded forecast type outlooks on there as well. We've got the app, we've got the web page, 24-hour channels on there as well. So wherever you are, that's where we are. Do me a favor today. Tell somebody about Peaks to Plains weather. I would appreciate it. Have a good day.
We don't know what the weather is going to be like around here. I do get really anxious during storms.
That's why they chose HailGuard. When performance leads, confidence follows. Backed by the first and only asphalt shingle system with a hail warranty.
That just gives us more peace of mind.
This is the only asphalt product on the market that has the manufacturer warranty targeting the hail damage, and it gives me a lot of confidence as a contractor.
Engineered for enhanced impact performance. Built to protect homes and reputations. HailGuard shingles. Built for hail.